Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Market Down Podcast. My name is Nick Cummings, joined this week by Chad Big Bad Johnson and James Gisante. We'll start off by wishing everybody a Happy New Year. I hope you enjoyed your holidays. And let us get into the biggest news of the week, which was Mercedes Monè, formerly known as Sasha Banks, debuting in New Japan Pro Wrestling this past, I guess technically it was Wednesday. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning because of the time difference. James can attest to that since he's been up pretty much the entire day. But she debuted in New Japan Pro Wrestling at Wrestle Kingdom, facing off against Kairi after her defense of the IWGP Women's Championship. So obviously this has a lot of implications. Mercedes' contract had just run out at the beginning of the new year, and there was a lot of speculation and anticipation about where she may show up. Obviously, a lot of people thought she was showing up in New Japan, which she obviously has. There's also a lot of speculation that she may be Saraya's mystery tag team partner at next week's Dynamite. So, James, a lot to break down here. I guess we'll start with her debut in New Japan. What did you think of it, and where do you think she may go in the near future from there?
The debut was epic. It was an OMG moment for New Japan, for Miss Mercedes Monè now. Kairi and I'm very tired, but Kairi and Tam Nakano had a great match. Very quick, stiff, crisp match. And it's historic because it's the first IWGP Women's title defense in Wrestle Kingdom history. It's a new belt. So for that match to happen and then to be immediately followed by the debuting Mercedes, it's going to be in the record books forever. There's no getting around it. She debuted with a new look, new hair, new gear, a new finisher because she hit something on Kairi. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it is. There's spinning involved. I got a little bit of a headache, maybe vertigo. I'm not sure.
It might just because you were up for like 12, 15 hours at that point. Probably closer to 18.
No, it was the move.
Por qué no los dos?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But Mercedes had an epic stare down with Kairi. And then after dropping Kairi, she tells her she is the CEO of this division. She is putting everyone on notice, and she will be taking that IWGP Women's Championship. So Kairi should treasure the time she has with it. Afterwards, when she did her backstage promo after the segment, she talked about how she's basically going on tour. She's going to be, this is just the first stop on the world tour for Mercedes. She's going to be hitting indies, small indies. She's going to be doing different matches, different types. But more than anything, her first title match with New Japan will be at the Battle of the Valley, or Battle at the Valley, of the Valley at the Valley. There will be a battle in a valley, and it's coming soon.
In San Jose.
San Jose. She will be challenging Kairi for the title, and I would not be shocked to see her walk away with the championship. We don't know exactly how much he's getting paid, but the rumors are it is a crazy high number, and you don't use that type of money unless you really want to build around this person. So she doesn't have a contract. I know she's working on like a per appearance deal, but there's definitely something in the works for Miss Mercedes, and I'm excited for her. It was a little clunky, the promo. I say this without any type of silliness. Like, I'm not trying to make fun of her. She honestly sounded a little congested. She did. I don't know if it was I know how it sounds. She sounded like she might have been battling a cold or something.
She had just taken a trans-Pacific flight a couple of days earlier. So
exactly,
jet lag and stuff. You never know.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people online were concerned about the lack of reaction she received with the crowd. I can tell you, I am more familiar with Japanese crowds than I think some people, and they are not known to be very vocal. They will cheer during massive moments, like other matches throughout the night did get some cheers. But it should be noted, this was the very first show New Japan ran since the pandemic started, where the fans were even allowed to cheer. It's all been clapping.
Yeah, I was about to say, they were allowed to clap for a while. They weren't even allowed to do that for a little while, I think. And then they were allowed to clap, and then now they could finally vocalize.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is... I don't know if they were saving their cheers for something for later, but it felt very standard, especially considering Mercedes is a gaijin who is cutting her promo in English. The majority of the fans aren't going to understand what she's saying, so all they see is her coming in, dropping their champion, and
babbling.
and babbling. And I'll be honest, I don't really know if Kairi's a face or not. So that's another layer to it. But regardless, I think things are going to be okay. Her going for the title in Los Angeles, not Los Angeles, but in California is the smart move, because that's really where she's going to be getting the best reception. So I think day one of Mercedes Monè, undeniable success with good things on the horizon.
Also, too, I think in terms of the fans cheering there, when her name popped up on the Tron, there was quite a bit of a reaction. So it wasn't like they were completely silent. They just kind of got drowned out a bit by the music, which, side note, like the higher pitch part of the song, for whatever reason, sounds like tag team. So
I think it's Jump from Criss Cross.
No, that's what I meant. Fuck. My bad. I meant Jump Crisscross and I said tag team.
What a fake fan.
Oh my god. I want to restart.
Jump.
You were right, because it's been in my head since I watched the clip of her entrance like 10 minutes ago.
You guys have no idea.
And I said tag team by mistake. Oh god.
Those who are watching, you have no idea how much Nick wants to restart the entire podcast.
This pains me so much.
I'm sure he does.
Oh man.
For those watching, Nick edits, so he could just clear this up on his own.
I'm not going to. I mean, I keep in everybody's mistakes. So I have to keep in mind, it's only fair. I'm just very, very, very disappointed in myself. I feel like I lost so much street cred right now.
It's fine. Tag team
but that's tag
huge
team
hit
back
in the
again.
90s.
But it's,
whoop, there it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
no, it's clearly
Jump.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so I know, because that was gonna be. I thought it was a good joke, and now it's just I fucked it all up. All right, let's just keep it moving here. So Chad, obviously, she's in New Japan. She's gonna have this match against Kairi in San Jose, but there still is the speculation, despite what happened on Dynamite this past Wednesday, that Mercedes will still be Saraya's mystery partner in AEW. Even if she's not, though, I think there's a very good chance she ends up there.
I mean, the sky is literally the limit as of now. She's on a wrestling tour. As James said off camera, she'll be wrestling at a Mid-South, like, indie spot or whatever. She's going back to basic. I mean, Mercedes... I do want to call her Mercedes on camera.
It's tough.
Least.
It's tough.
Please forgive us.
And
at one point, somebody will call her
name?
Sasha. Yes, it is. It's Mercedes Renato.
So I probably should just call her that. I'm not going to do it off camera, but still.
On camera, we must be professional. Off camera,
I will try.
It's Paige and it's fucking Sasha
Banks. It's
Banks.
absolutely Paige. I haven't called her Saraya except on the podcast, which is disrespectful. Sorry, Saraya. No, Mercedes has always, and I do mean always, been one of the most passionate women's wrestlers that I've ever seen. And that's what made her very special to me as a fan early on. At one point in time, she was my favorite horsewoman. I loved all the odes to Eddie Guerrero. I just loved how compassionate she was about the whole sport. I do agree with James. I think the promo was a little clunky, which is fine because she hasn't been in the spotlight in a while, so she's a little rusty. The move was, it is what it is. The move looked very bad to me. But other than that, I'm super excited. And when I heard "Jump" by Criss Cross, I was super enthused. I was like, "Oh shit, can she do this?" At first, I was like, "Damn, copyright infringement." But after, I was like, "Oh shit, new theme song, new look." She looked amazing. I've never seen her look that good. I will give her that. The look alone made her look much better, besides the botch and the clunky promo, because the look was just, I don't know. I've never seen her in that light. She looks refreshed. She looks revitalized, reinvigorated. And I'm super excited. I definitely think she goes to AEW, if not next week, in a couple months or whatever. She's having the time of her life. I think this is all. I mean, this is what she loves to do, but I do think a lot of this is for show, so that she can tell her former company, "I am worth this amount of dollars, and I should be paid this amount of dollars," and then they'll take her back Drew McIntyre style for this amount of dollars. But I'll leave that for future references. But I'm excited.
I think that I'm still so shook from this Criss Cross thing. I think the problem with her promo, and not even the problem, I think part of the reason why it was a little clunky is I think she might have been expecting people to cheer. Like, she kind of looked around like, you're not applauding people. Like, and I think, and because in WWE, like, you're expected to do that. You got to throw some pauses in for people to react, whether it's cheer or boo. So I think she was kind of expecting that, and then it didn't come. I think if she had just done the promo and spoke normally, it would have been fine. The move,
I agree.
Yeah.
It was very she resulted to her WWE factory settings, and I think it just didn't go over the way it did. Well, I didn't know until James said that they're not allowed to like go absolutely ape shit, because
and they never do, is the thing.
I'm expecting everyone to go ape shit because it's fucking Sasha Banks. But once he said it, now it makes sense. And yeah, that was absolutely a WWE promo. If that was on NXT, it would have been an uproar. The bleachers would have been flipped over. Everybody would have started attacking the ring, and like it was a good promo. It was just very factory setting.
Yeah, it was almost like during the Thunderdome era where they would pause, or even before that, before they did the Thunderdome and they were piping stuff in, when they would pause and it would just be like silence because nobody was at the performance center. It
Right.
kind of almost sounded like that. Like, some people went like try to cheer for her, and it was probably like the people who visited Japan to go watch Wrestle Kingdom live. But other than that, yeah, it was weird. The move, we'll see. I saw a video of her practicing it on Reddit, and it's one of those things where I could see why, if the person taking it doesn't know how to take it, it's going to look really bad because it's a little convoluted.
She should let that go.
Yeah, up on the shoulders like that, and then having to flip them all the way back over into a DDT. It's a lot. So
I understand not wanting to do the bank statement, which is fine because you are Mercedes Monè now, but she has to, I don't want to say dumb it down because I hate saying that when referencing women, but she's going to have to
simplify the move.
Yeah, she's going to take that down a notch. She has to.
Yeah. And I'm sure she'll still use a bank statement. I just think in that instance, having a non-submission finisher for something like that is much better. Like, just
but then why did she try to hit an arm bar in the middle of the move?
Really looked like it. It really looked like it.
Because it was botched.
She tried to turn into a fucking crippler crossface.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if Matthew picks it up and puts it on Botchamania. I don't know if it was that bad. I actually didn't see it, but because for whatever reason couldn't find the clip of it. But when I go watch Wrestle Kingdom, I will see it. I haven't watched it yet. I've been saying that all night tonight. But I think, if she simplifies it, it'll be fine. I understand the intent, though. I didn't like her hair. I'm not gonna lie. It confused me. It confused me.
I liked it.
No, it looked like one of the paint jobs I have on one of my cars in Rocket League.
It looked like something Dennis Rodman would have rocked in the 90s.
Yeah, and maybe I was just
to.
yeah, and I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm colorblind. I have no idea what the fuck was the colors they were.
Holy fuck!
I like
have to.
I like the front.
That.
You know what it is? I like the front. I like the what was it? Green. It was like the.
It was blue.
Like, what was the front though? Like it was two different colors.
It was a light color.
It was. I think. I don't know.
But like, it wasn't even that it was two-toned either. It was just kind of like it looked like a blob of paint thrown at the back of her head. So
there was a design in it.
I know. But I don't know. I also watched it on my phone in about 480p. Maybe if I see it in HD, it'll come up better. But my initial impressions were her gear was awesome. It looked phenomenal. The crown was cool. I didn't love the hair. My opinions on that could change, but
there's no green in the hair. By the way, I'm looking at
what, dude? Like, as colorblind, I have no idea what color her hair was.
Did you at least see the design?
Back? Yeah, I saw the design, and again, maybe I didn't see the intricacies of it because I was on a shitty phone like clip. But
I do admit it didn't come across as flames when I first saw the clip. I definitely thought it would.
It's flames.
Yeah,
oh my god!
Oh, okay. See, yeah, no, it's
that's
definitely
not even a color thing, Nick.
It's definitely all right. So you know what? I'm going to retract my opinion. You have to the end of the segment to retract your opinion and withhold judgment until I see it in a cleaner setting because my initial opinions were based on just absolute sheer wrongness. This has not been a great segment for your boy.
It did look very heat sensor-ish, so I get it.
All right. I will say this, though. There's no way in hell I'm going to be able to tell what colors they are. So, all right. I'm
turquoise and orange.
That was always
okay.
Orange.
I'll give you green since.
Yeah. Okay. That was orange. The back I thought was pink. So
there
turquoise.
Might have been some pink in the back.
Well, no, the turquoise is one of those colors where if it's like with the lighting and shit, if it's weird, if it's weird lighting or shitty video, I would see it as pink. So
every time you say you're colorblind, I always in the back of my mind think it's like a rib. And then you prove every time that you're actually legally colorblind.
Yep.
And it's the best running gag of this podcast.
And it's not even a bit. Like, I legitimately am colorblind.
But I always think it's a bit. I don't know why. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just, I genuinely, honestly, I thought her hair was like this color.
Absolutely not.
Like maybe a little darker. But I pretty much thought it was like this.
What color is that?
It's neon green. Like, it's like a neon green. It says it on the Sharpie.
Oh, okay.
It was honestly, I thought it was probably closer to this Sharpie.
So does it look neon green to you though?
Her hair or this?
The marker.
This is green. This one's not neon. This is just regular green. I can see green usually. It's confusing.
He has a different type of color blindness. It's like blue.
It's
purple,
selective.
Right?
No, God, no. Yeah, I can just pick and choose what colors I can and can't see. It's a shading thing. Yeah, like some shades I can see, some shades I see as other colors. It's weird. All right.
This is the Mark It Down podcast where we're A-list, everybody, apparently.
Yeah, we are far too into the weeds on this, so I'm just gonna pull the trigger on this segment and check out of it and then move on. So over in AEW, Dax Harwood has started a new podcast, and he seems to be stirring up some shit with his comments. He's been talking about a lot of things, one of them being CM Punk, and the fact that not only is he friends with Punk, he kind of misses him, which, I mean, fair. You're allowed to miss your friends. But this has ruffled some feathers, not just the Punk comments, but others. Both Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez discussed on their podcast recently that many in the locker room seem to be upset about Dax's comments about Punk and occasionally some other stuff. I know he talked about working with the Acclaimed. I don't know how that went over, but dude's got an opinion on everything, it seems, and somebody gave him a platform. So I feel like this is going to be a running thing in the near future. But after the Meltzer and Alvarez comments, Dax then went on his podcast and said that while he respects Meltzer, the wrestling historian, doesn't necessarily respect Meltzer, the quote unquote journalist who just puts out the narratives that his friends want put out. So, Chad, I know we could probably just talk about Dax and the comments and whether or not this is going to stir up shit backstage. And you, please, by all means, talk about that. But I do see the bigger picture here of A, not everybody needs a podcast, present company excluded. And B, like sometimes just when wrestlers have podcasts like this and they're just going out and talking about things that are currently happening in real time, I can see why it would be bad, because then you can cause strife in the locker room the way Dax is, or reportedly is.
Absolutely. I'm from the oldest of old school, where, like, I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember a point in time where you almost could not talk about your political views?
Yeah.
Like, you didn't know who was a Republican and who was a Democrat.
It was taboo to share those things.
Yeah.
Like when wrestlers were mysterious and you just thought they were their gimmicks outside.
Yeah, before the death of kayfabe.
I absolutely wish we lived in times like that now. With that being said, like, I mean, controversy does build, and the input and output of it is great for this era, but I absolutely hate sometimes when wrestlers talk and don't wrestle. This is like exhibit A, B, C, D, and E. I hate to say shut up and wrestle because I think everybody should have an opinion, but I can't even tell him to tone it down because you have to be who you are. And I'm always going to let people be who they are. But I just think it's too much talking, not enough wrestling. He's fine with feeling how he feels. That's okay, I get it. But I don't know. I think he just needs to be a little quieter.
Yeah, it's a fine line, right? Because obviously I think if somebody wants to do a podcast, let them do a podcast. Clearly. But but like when you are in a setting like that and you're going on, into a public forum, and I don't want to say like airing everyone's dirty laundry, but you're giving opinions on things that are happening in a locker room, which is a very different setting than just say doing a podcast about work. It's probably even more private than say if you did a podcast about work, which I'm sure would get you in trouble in general. But
absolutely, it's not politically correct.
Yeah.
I guess we'll keep it at that.
People always say in sports, we keep that in house. Keep it in the locker room.
Right.
We deal with it internally. Right. And going out and having a podcast and discussing things that are happening presently within the locker room is obviously the exact opposite of that. So I can see why it would ruffle feathers. I can see why people would be upset. Now, I'm sure Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, the information they got, it's from their friends. They're friends with a lot of wrestlers. Jericho is a guy who's been feeding Meltzer stuff for decades. Like, I'm pretty sure the majority of the fall of WCW news came from Jericho until he left. So, and then a bunch of the WWE stuff too. So it's like, they're getting stuff from their friends, but I'm sure those people and probably other people they hang out with are a little upset that Dax is airing the shit about Punk out. Especially since Meltzer also had a recent report that many in the locker room don't want Punk back. And that allegedly Jericho is going to try to keep him from coming back. So, I mean, that's a whole different story in general. But, I mean, James, I think you can obviously see that I don't want to say this is a problem, but I do think there's a small chance that this becomes a problem.
So I might actually go against you guys a little bit on this, just a little bit. That Dax is far from the first current wrestler or active wrestler to have a podcast.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah, Jericho's got one.
Jericho's got one. Cardona and Brian Myers have one.
Well, they talk about toys.
I mean, they talk about the product too, but yes.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they do. I don't think it's inherently an issue that an active wrestler who's in a locker room has a podcast. It's how you handle the podcast, what you choose to talk about on the podcast, that could be the problem.
I think that's what I was more trying to get at. I don't think it's a problem. He has one. Obviously, it's a free country to have a podcast. But
of course, no, and I know that's what you meant to convey, but I just wanted to clarify it.
Yeah, you got to be careful about what you're saying and how you handle it
here on a podcast.
Yeah.
But I also don't think it's necessarily a problem that he has a platform to talk about the things he wants to talk about. And if that includes his workspace, his work environment, he has that right to. He shouldn't ever really speak for other people unless he's getting permission to do so from said people. I could see how that could lead to a lot of problems. And I will say, this happens every time a wrestler starts a podcast. Those first few weeks, anything and everything they say is made into a headline.
That's true.
So things that are very small, like Dax Harwood said, and like I've listened to it, or at the very least, I've read the transcript of what was actually said. What he actually said doesn't sound anywhere near as biased as a lot of the articles are making it seem to be. He's honest about the fact that he's friends with Punk. He's honest about the fact that he wishes Punk was back in the company because he thinks it's best for business. But he also went on to say that he thinks Kenny Omega in the company is best for business. He thinks the Young Bucks being in the company is best for business. So I think this early period of his podcast is definitely going to be held under a microscope a little bit, as they all tend to be. But when people step back and really look at it properly, it's more fine than it's not. And I'm intrigued to see how it's going to continue. I'm intrigued to see if he's ever going to have guests on, if he's going to have anybody from the locker room join him. But time will tell on that. And yeah, man, unless you're us, don't have a wrestling podcast.
Well, we are the only wrestling podcast, as Danny likes to say.
And no one can tell me otherwise.
Agreed.
I will say, in addition to what you said about what he said about Punk, I think he also mentioned the fact that he thinks them being able to get back together and work a promo would be best for business too, which I think is a fair opinion, but perhaps maybe that's what might have ruffled a few feathers that like to talk to Dave Meltzer.
I mean, so it doesn't help when you have CM Punk commenting on everything Dax is saying. He wrote "duh" when it came to the money stuff.
Yeah.
The Jericho and other higher ups in the locker room ensuring the locker room they will not let Punk back in the company. I didn't know Jericho had that type of power.
Well, according to another Meltzer report, he certainly does fucking not.
It's fascinating to think that Chris Jericho could tell Tony Khan not to hire somebody or to allow somebody to come back to work. But it's a fascinating subject. It's a fascinating concept. And I think that's why a lot of these reports that have been coming out we got to take some of them with a grain of salt. And just let the pieces fall into place before we really start getting up all in a tizzy.
The other problem with all of this, too, is a lot of these quote-unquote wrestling news outlets who are basically just transcribing these people's podcasts, they go through the most clickbaity headline possible. And 95% of people don't read past the headline, and then they're sharing it, to other people or talking about it in the Reddit thread or whatever it is, and no one's actually reading the entire quote. So it looks like Dax or whoever it is said something salacious and scandalous, when in fact they really didn't, and it's quite a lot more tame than you expected it to be. So, you websites, you know who you are. You're not contributing anything to this conversation. In fact, you're probably just making it worse.
Do you even journalism?
I mean, I try.
Not you, them.
Oh,
I'm
You
on
go to-
your team.
you go to journalism for that? God, I miss them. So yeah, I think James, you're probably right. I don't think this is going to become a huge deal. I just think Punk is such a third rail right now in that locker room that anything you say either way with him is probably going to miff somebody. So maybe that's a topic he should stay away from for a little while. It's probably a topic everyone should stay away from for a little while, just because if you mention him, Punk is going to appear like Beetlejuice in your comments and say something like "duh" and just stoke the flames even a little bit more. And speaking of stoking flames, hey Max Caster, you do anything the last week? So, for those of you who didn't watch AEW Dynamite 2 weeks ago, Max Caster had a rap about Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, whom they were facing off against. And he may or may not have said some things that pissed quite a few people off and led to the greatest and funniest domino effect we've seen in a while. So, Max, in his rap, made reference to the fact that Jeff Jarrett is married to his wife, Karen, who is also Kurt Angle's ex-wife. It was a joke. I think it was about taking his money or something, probably like an alimony thing. It wasn't meant to get serious. But
it was about Jeff Jarrett stealing Kurt Angle's wife.
Yes, okay. And I thought there was something with money in that line too. I may have misheard it. I was pretty shot last week. So I digress. Also, James is going to be my historical fact check on this. So thank you, James. Anyway, after that, Kurt Angle then tweeted something out about still using his name to get heat 12 years later, which he then deleted. And a little bit after that, Karen Jarrett, Kurt Angle's ex-wife, just went on a tweetscapade and was calling a bunch of people out. Kelly took a stray, Dawn Marie took a stray, and about people sleeping around and stuff, and everyone was very, very confused. And then she deleted all of that. She then went on to tweet that all of the other stuff came out because things were being said offline, everyone assumed by Kurt, and she was pissed and tired of everybody assuming things, and she was just like, I'm airing all the dirty laundry. Fuck everybody. I've had enough of this shit. And she just went off and then deleted all of it. Later on his podcast, Jeff Jarrett stated that he was pretty upset with all this because he had very clearly not stolen Kurt Angle's wife, that Kurt and Karen were separated when they were hired to TNA, legally separated, and they were living apart. So he definitely didn't do it. It was all above board. He didn't steal Kurt's wife. Then Max had to mention it again this past week on Dynamite about Karen tweeting, and just to, really rub it in Jarrett's face, put Lethal in an ankle lock as he stared him down. So, James, you obviously know the history here, so you can probably provide some backstory to that. But Jeff Jarrett is one of the most carny people in all of wrestling. And I wouldn't put it past him to use some of this shit, allow Max to use some of this shit for the no pun intended, the angle here. But I do think a lot of this is real. I do think Karen Jarrett got genuinely pissed off. I do think Kurt probably said something. And now we have this really funny and drama-filled mix of kayfabe and real-life stuff, and Jarrett just carnying it all together and making this wonderful mishmash that will continue during the feud with the Acclaimed.
Sheesh. All right. So starting with timeline, Kurt Angle goes to TNA. This idea that by the time Kurt got to TNA, he and Karen were separated, I don't think actually tracks. They probably did get separated way before Jeff and her got together, but I'm almost 100% certain Kurt and Karen were on TV together as a couple in TNA. moving forward, Jeff Jarrett's wife, and I don't know the years, I don't remember all this. Jeff Jarrett's wife unfortunately passes away due to cancer. I'd say a year or so later, probably a little bit longer, is when the news came out about Jeff and Karen being together. A lot of people immediately assumed that there was something untoward happening, something
Good word.
scandalous. Thank you.
Beautiful.
And I've reached that level of tired where I'm sort of lucid again. And despite there never really being any confirmation, it brought an immense amount of bad press, especially as this is happening around the time where we know Kurt is dealing with substance abuse. So as this relationship is happening, Jeff Jarrett is essentially forced out of TNA by Dixie Carter on the grounds of all the negativity it's bringing to the company and the poor judgment Jeff had. Eventually, the men were able to work together in TNA. Karen became Karen Jarrett, both in real life and on screen. And the men did what we're all hoping the Elite and Punk are able to do. They were able to put aside any bullshit to make lots of money. So that's the general timeline that we're working with. Obviously, I'm sure this was over a decade ago. I'm sure there are certain details that I've missed, but that's the general gist of it. And it is a little suspicious how quickly everything happened. I don't think Jeff was ever cheating on his wife. I could say that. I don't think that Karen was cheating on Kurt, but boy, did Jeff Jarrett really swoop in pretty quick after his wife died and things were on the rocks between the angles. So I think when it comes to the current storyline, I think Max made his rap, and I want to believe that Jeff was made aware of it, because at no point during either rap, during this rap this week where Max came out to freestyling, did Jeff look pissed. He looked like he was getting a kick out of it, if I'm being honest.
At minimum, he didn't look pissed off, because obviously, was upset because
But I sort of kind of believe that this was discussed amongst the men. Jeff didn't really bring it up to Karen, or if he did, they didn't know the level of heat that this would get. And I almost guarantee Kurt was not made aware that it was going to happen. And what started as a work turned into a shoot and worked itself back into being a work, because everyone's mature enough to say, let's just get on with this.
Magic of Jeff Jarrett.
Right? That is some TNA booking if I've ever seen it.
Oh, what a carny.
Where is Vince Russo? But the part of me that really does think that this is a shoot is that there are names involved that are being discussed that will almost certainly not be signed with AEW or will have any real presence in this feud. I don't think we're ever going to see Kurt Angle on AEW TV. I would be shocked if Kelly signs with AEW. So these are people who, Kelly especially, who Kurt, you understand how he's involved. Kelly would not have gotten involved unless Karen Jarrett specifically got her involved. And
yeah, she just took a stray and had a call, be like, this is all horseshit. Why you even keep my name out your mouth? Why are you bringing me up here?
Kelly and Dawn Marie.
Yep.
And again, the implication is
and others.
And others. The implication is Kurt cheated on Karen with these women, and Karen will not allow herself to be called the home wrecker, the cheater, when Kurt was the one who was driving around town. So it's very messy. It's hella fun. I am sad if certain people got caught in the crosshairs when they shouldn't have been. But man, it really reminds you that wrestling is a soap opera.
Absolutely.
it's one of the best, and it's weird too. I will say, like, it has been mentioned by, I think, almost every party at this point that anything that did happen mostly was kept behind closed doors because the Angles did have children together who were very young at the time. So they didn't want any of this, to be aired publicly. And then all of a sudden, Max Caster makes a joke, and everything's being aired publicly. Apparently, all that just went out the window for seemingly no reason. But I think you're probably right, James. I think this was a work, and then because certain people weren't made privy to that, they worked themselves into a shoot, brother. And now, and then Jeff Jarrett just sprinkled his carny bullshit on it, and now he's bringing it back around into a work.
I love that we're blaming Jeff for this.
I'm not blaming Jeff. I
am.
I mean, maybe you could kind of blame him, especially not that he like made this up, but Max probably went, "Hey, I'm going to make a joke," and he probably said, "Okay, that's cool," and then maybe he forgot to clear it with certain people, and that kind of set things off. If we're going to blame him for anything, it's probably that. Jeff being able to turn this back around and make it a work again is just it's great.
Jeff.
Yeah, it's just him being so good at this. I'm not blaming him. It's just funny. But go ahead, Chad.
I mean,
it's hilarious.
I think you all hit it on the head. It's an episode of General Hospital that I can't stop watching. Like every time I go on Twitter, it's Kurt was fucking so and so and so, and then the girls are clapping back. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. And then Jeff is just at home smiling, and Karen's Twitter fingering. It's messy as shit, but I can't stop looking at it. I cannot stand Jeff Jarrett. I don't know if we know this on the pod. I don't know why. I never in life could stand him. So to me, this is all his fault, but I'm enjoying it. So I don't want it to be his fault now, but it's absolutely his fault. He should have, I think he could have gotten to some level of decorum to where this wouldn't have gone super explosive. But as you said, we're all enjoying it, and it's so much messy, nasty fun that whatever.
You know what? You know whose fault this really is? This is Vince McMahon's fault. Because if Vince McMahon
everything.
If Vince McMahon didn't do the stupid bullshit that he did, he would still be with the company. Jeff Jarrett would still be with WWE. Max Caster would never be rapping about him, and we'd all be okay.
Well, I'm glad we don't have Jeff Jarrett in WWE.
Well, he was working behind the scenes. He wasn't wrestling, if I remember correctly. So
I don't even want to hear his name.
I mean, Chad, his job got taken by Road Dogg. So I don't know if WWE won or if any of us won there.
We did not win. Road Dogg sucks.
Oh, I was saying everybody lost, no matter what. Well, because if I remember correctly, James, Jeff Jarrett was doing like their house show booking, more or less.
Live events.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's definitely now in charge of that here with AEW. He's definitely also in charge of that with AEW now.
Yeah, I've heard that too, because they're trying to do more. The rumor is they're going to start doing some house shows as well. So, which, hey, that'd be cool. 2 or more cities. But, so, yeah, I think that's why he is in AEW. And honestly, I haven't hated anything he's done since he's gotten there. I thought I was. I didn't understand why he was there. I thought it was going to be really dumb. But the match with Sting and Darby was fun. These matches with the Acclaimed have been fun. And we've gotten, honestly, the most, like I said, Chad, soap opera thing we've gotten out of wrestling in a while. And I'm including the CM Punk thing. That wasn't soap opera. That was just fight. This is like you said, General Hospital levels of drama. And it's way funnier.
I hate that I don't hate this. Oh, my God.
It's great.
It is. It really is. All My Children, episode 505.
It's a little lull TNA, but it's still good. And I'm not taking a shot at TNA, James, but you got to admit
it really felt like it.
But there was the lull TNA era, and you have to laugh at it.
TNA deserves every shot. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
The back half of and the collapse.
If you say Impact, I'll let you slide. TNA
All right.
deserves whatever the fuck you give them.
This
No,
is what
'cause-
I'm gonna say. This is what I'm gonna say. TNA for years was great.
Yeah,
And
I agree with
then-
that.
Absolutely.
Then the inmates started to run the asylum a little bit. Hulk Hogan got involved. Eric Bischoff got involved. Vince
Kevin
Russo
Nash.
got involved. Nash actually wasn't as big a problem.
Oh, that's also he is X Division legend Kevin Nash.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. So I
But-
will say TNA, when it got stuff right. But when it got stuff wrong, it was monumental. So I will not take TNA slander in this house or on this pod, but not the brightest moment for the company.
That's all you're gonna get from me from now on. So
I will, James. I will not slander the first few years of TNA. I will slander the back half of it. I think that's fair. The Hogan era and everything that followed, and Bischoff and Russo and everything. I am going to slander that. They 100% deserve it.
Hogan tarnishes everything he touched, doesn't he? Jesus.
Yeah,
When he gets in, he destroys everything.
it's not going to work for me, brother.
I did like the Voodoo King Mafia. Those years were really good.
Early TNA, that was Billy
Yeah.
Gunn and Road Dogg.
Yeah, and
Even though I hate Road Dogg, but word.
yeah, and you had great stuff with TNA. Like even after the low TNA years, like towards the end when they were trying to, before they moved to Impact, like you had like the Aces and Eights. Those guys were cool.
Yeah, they were.
Like I remember that. You got great promos out of Jay Lethal and Ric Flair. It's still the best promo of all time. I don't care what anybody says. Like
Yeah.
the X Division was amazing. AJ Styles would not be who he is unless he was there and not instead of going straight to WWE. Like
Christian was phenomenal. His whole run.
Christian was great there.
Truth was pretty good there.
Yeah, I was gonna
Samoa
say
Joe.
Samoa Joe, you Christopher Daniels, and Frankie Kazarian. Like, we could go on and on and
AJ
on.
Styles, Victory Road.
Victory Road.
God damn it.
Yeah, and then that's the dark side of all of that. Sting had a good run there too. Like there is a lot of positives from TNA, and we're completely off the rails here, but there are a lot of positives of TNA. It's just that at the end it went really, really bad. Really, really fast.
Really bad.
All right. I'm going to get us back on track here by ending the show. Otherwise, I think we're going to end up talking TNA for the next 45 minutes.
You
And
say
we've already-
that like it's a bad thing.
No, not necessarily, but we've already done 45 minutes, so I think we should probably wrap up here. So I would like to thank everybody so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to go see more stuff, more coverage on Wrestle Kingdom. James put up a video, like I said, at like 7 o'clock in the morning. So go check that out. You might be a little delirious, but it's definitely good stuff. He was also on Danny's Raw Fast Forward on Monday. James has been the whole week. James has been doing the whole week. He has been a trooper. That's why he's been saying he's exhausted. He's been phenomenal this week. He also covered NXT on Tuesdays. But as of
With
now,
Chad. I covered it with Chad.
that show is being canceled because no one likes NXT at the moment. Wednesdays, we do Dynamite live right after Dynamite. Thursdays, the Gym Pack Zone for those of you who love TNA and Impact.
Impact.
And obviously, you get new shows every week. So be sure to like and subscribe so you can get all of that stuff. And if you want us in other places too, check out all our social media stuff below. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook. We are all over those things. So be sure to check us out there. So for Chad Big Bad Johnson and James Gisante, my name is Nick Cummings. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll catch you here next time on the Mark It Down podcast. Have a good one, everyone.